Hello, my name is Nick Davis. I'm a realtor with the RE/MAX Premier Group, and I live and work here in the Tampa Bay area. Today, we're going to talk about what are closing costs and who pays them when you're purchasing a home. Closing costs are the fees and expenses associated with a real estate transaction, and both sides, meaning the buyer and the seller, both have closing costs. However, they can vary drastically. Additionally, the buyer pays many closing costs, while other closing costs are paid for by the seller. These will vary from state to state, and I'm going to cover the closing costs associated with purchasing a home here in the state of Florida. So here's what you need to know about the closing costs and what you should expect to pay when you purchase your next home. Closing costs are not cheap. They can range from 2% or up to 5% of the purchase price. If you purchase a $200,000 home, you can expect to pay $4,000 up to $10,000 in closing costs and prepaid items. And we're going to talk about the prepaid items here in a minute. As a buyer, your closing costs could include, but aren't limited to, these items. Credit report fees. Your lender's going to charge you a credit report fee because they have to run your credit to qualify you to purchase your home. Loan origination fees. These are the fees that the lender charges you to process your mortgage. Inspection fees. Here in Florida, a lot of these fees are paid outside of closing. For example, if you're doing a VA loan, it is required that you get a wood-destroying organism or a termite report. Discount points. Lenders will charge this initial or optional fee to buy your interest rate down. An appraisal fee. When you're doing a mortgage, the lender's going to order an appraisal to ensure that the home's value meets what you are in contract to purchase, and this fee will be charged to you. A survey fee. Now, what we like to do in our offers is ask the seller if they have a copy of the survey to provide it once the offer is accepted. Now, in some cases, that survey may still be good, but let's just say that the owner added a pool to the home. Well, that survey's no good, and a new survey will have to be ordered. Lenders' title insurance. Sellers pay the majority of title insurance costs. However, most lenders are going to require a mortgage insurance policy, and normally that's an expense that's charged to you, the buyer. Title search fees. This is done by the title company to ensure that there are no liens or encumbrances on the property, so that after closing, nobody can come back to you and say that you owe them money for work that they did on that property. Escrow deposits. Now, when I'm talking about escrow deposits, I'm talking about for your mortgage. Normally, the lender is going to require that you have a couple months of tax payments and insurance payments built up so that the following year, when it comes time for you to pay taxes and your annual homeowner's insurance, you have enough money there so that those items can be paid. Recording fees. These are paid to the city or the county to record the documents needed for the closing. Underwriting fees. These are the costs to evaluate your loan from the lender. Now, again, we are going over the closing costs here in Florida. They can vary from state to state. They can even vary from county to county, coast to coast here in Florida. In certain areas, it's customary that the seller pays the buyer's closing costs. In other areas, it's customary that the buyer pays the seller's closing costs. And I know it can be kind of confusing, but that's why you have us on your side looking out for your best interest. One way to offset the amount of money you need to come to closing would be to ask the seller to help contribute towards your closing costs. Now, it's not uncommon, but there's a few things you need to think about when you do this, because let's just say you have a home that's listed at $200,000, and you say that I'm going to offer you $200,000, but I want you to pay 3% of the purchase price towards my closing costs, which would be $6,000. So in essence, you're only offering the seller $194,000 because they're going to contribute $6,000 towards your closing costs. And it's not uncommon for a seller to accept an offer, but like I said earlier, you got to think about it. So let's just say the home is listed at $200,000 and you need 3%. Well, you can't come in and offer $160,000 and then ask for 3%. the seller's just not going to accept it because the offer is way too low. And their net includes whatever contribution you're asking them to give up. What I'm really saying is, if you need a contribution towards your closing costs, you have to come in with a really strong offer. And if the home's only been on the market a few days and it's listed at $200,000, we're going to have to come in at $200,000 if we're going to ask for that $6,000 in closing costs. One of the other things that we can do is we can lessen the amount of time for the inspection contingency. Here in Florida, it defaults to 15 days on the FAR bar as is, or the Florida Association of Realtors purchase contract. So we could maybe lessen that time to 7 to 10 days. Depending upon your lender, we may be able to ask for a quicker closing. Now this could work to your benefit, but some sellers may want additional time. So we have to kind of find out prior to submitting our offer what the seller's time frame looks like. Make fewer demands. In a nutshell, we've got to make the offer as clean as possible when we're asking the seller to make a contribution towards your closing costs. Let's just say you're asking for the 3% in closing costs, then you ask that you want the driveway patched, you want a new roof put on. That's a lot that the seller's going to have to take into consideration. So normally what we like to do is we look at the warranted items on the inspection report. If there's items that are not working, like the air conditioner, well, we can go back to the seller and ask them to get the air conditioner in working order or even replace it if needed. Because items like that will materially affect any offer that comes in after ours. But if there's just some caulking or let's just say a screen missing in a window, those are little items that you can take care of after closing, because the more important thing that we need to focus on is getting the seller to accept the offer with the contribution toward your closing costs. Well, there you have it. What are closing costs and who pays for them when you're purchasing a home? Hopefully you found the information I provided helpful. And if you need some assistance finding your new home here in the Tampa Bay area, give us a call, 813-300-7116. And do me a favor, go ahead and click the subscribe button with notifications turned on. This way, anytime we make a new video, you'll be notified immediately. Talk to you soon.